A former Lifeline counsellor has warned that lives are being lost as hundreds of thousands of calls go unanswered each year and at-risk Australians face record waits. Data from its publicly available annual reports show fewer than 80% of calls in the 2023 financial year actually resulted in an interaction with a counsellor. Six News chief reporter Connor Alforque has the exclusive details.
18-year-old Nathaniel Minia was burned by Lifeline's broken promise.
Please remember that we're here for you.
He has PTSD, depression, anxiety, but says he won't call Lifeline's main number again. The Sydney-sider says when he was kicked out of home in April, thoughts of suicide crept in, calling Lifeline for help. The only counsel he received, a holding message.
Stay on the line and your call will be answered as soon as possible.
After at least 10 minutes of waiting and wondering whether anyone at all cared, he terminated the call. Like hundreds of thousands of others, sobering figures from Lifeline's publicly available annual reports show fewer than 80% of calls were answered by a counsellor. That's more than 225,000 unanswered calls in the 2023 financial year, an increase of 120,000 on just 2 years ago.
No person in Australia has to face their darkest moments alone.
Wait times also surging by 2.5 times in 2 years. Callers now left on hold for an average of 3 minutes.
We have to remember that that's 3 minutes for those people who got through. There's a whole lot of people who didn't get through and who terminated their calls because they were waiting longer.
Please hold. We will answer your call.
Dr. Robert Watson worked at Lifeline in the early 2000s.
Hello, this is Lifeline. May we help you?
He went on to research it and warns the blowouts are deadly.
I'm absolutely sure there's been cases in the last 20 years where people who've tried to contact Lifeline who haven't been able to get through and who then turn around and say, not even Lifeline is here for me in my moment of need. So really no one cares about me. I'll go ahead and commit suicide.
Lifeline wouldn't comment on those claims, but acknowledged in their latest annual report that the call answer rate had decreased, putting it down to COVID restrictions and the cost of living, which increased demand and decreased their volunteer workforce. December and January will only pile on the pressure for Lifeline. Holidays are their busiest time of year. They're bracing for 4,000 contacts every day via phone, via text message and online chat. Many of those contacts non-urgent. Inevitably, there are prank callers, along with other calls vastly outside the scope of a hotline that deals with suicides.
So we get sexual gratification callers. You're constantly supporting people who are anxious and maybe socially isolated, and then in a sense you can make them reliant on the service.
Dr. Watson wants calls to Lifeline to be treated in the same way as 000 calls, where a triage system is used to prioritise emergency cases.
Somebody calling about their dog or about finding out what time it is may be in the queue over somebody who is calling for a suicide in progress, for example.
In a statement, a Lifeline spokesperson shot down the proposal, telling Six News segmenting calls on the basis of urgency would present several challenges, including that levels of distress can fluctuate significantly within an interaction.
It was just terrible. It was a really poor excuse.
A charity in need of a lifeline of its own. Connor Alforque, Six News.
And if you or someone you know needs help, there is support available beyond blue at 1300 22 4636.